on mission. Trying to get it right. Transition. Changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission. On a mission. Trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, ooh. Trying to mission, a mission. I'm on a mission. On a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission. On a mission. On a mission.
What's up? What's up? Welcome. Hold on, we gotta. All right,
There
that was
we
cool.
are.
Welcome. This is Alchemizing Energy. We are here with Baba Yashabaya. Together, we are once again doing the principles of Epha. I think I lost it. Did someone just call you, Baba? Well, I think somebody just called him. Man. So we're gonna be doing the second version of the principles of Epha. We're doing part two, where we're gonna part 7. We're on the 7th version of the principles of Epha, and then this one we are going to be discussing um, the connection of Epha to modern technology. So, without ado, I'm going to let Baba take the reins.
I want to say a lot here to each and every one of you out there, and I want to send a special thanks to our beautiful goddess, our host, and I'm not just uh, butting her biscuits. This platform has reached out and touched a lot of people. I've been getting quite a few calls, and I want to thank her for bringing us on the platform and even coming up with a topic, the principles of Ifa, and that is just our generic title, because we'll be diving into many areas of it, and we're not here attacking. We're asking you to do the research. As I was talking to a young man, I call him Andrew Ifa. He's up in Detroit, and I was telling him, I says, what got him was when he came on and heard us the first time. I told people, don't believe nothing that I say, do the research. So we call this the 3 R's: read, research, and review. Don't get all emotional. Don't just because we're steady getting downloads from the celestial realm into this dimension to help bring out those who are seeking spiritual elevation, are getting downloads. So then there's a lot of questions that we're being asked, and we're questioning a lot of things that we've been taught through the years that might have been on point then, but as we have evolved, those positions have changed. For instance, I was reading, there's a book called Anacalypticus by a guy by the name of Sir Godfrey Higgins. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might not have. But he was selected by the royal family to go back and do research on the origin of man and etc. And him being, of the royal family, of course, he's trying to find out to make sure that for a better understanding where the white man come from and all these things. And he said the further it went back, the darker it got, and he became frustrated. He said, and his quote was this: "To think to a race of people who are now the object of our contempt, to them do we owe our art, science, and even the very use of speech." And this guy was frustrated. He said, man. So what we're saying is, I oftentimes say this is no attack, because you can only give people what's available at the time for information. but we're steady getting more and more information. So I love the title. Like I came through the comedic thing like everybody else when we was all was seeing that Egypt was a place and the Alexander Library, but we found out there's more to it than that. So what I want to do today, I'm going to ask you to get a pencil, paper, recording, whatever. First and foremost, don't believe anything that I say, but I do want you to check it out and see if it's better or not. Those that follow the Bible, it says wisdom is the principal thing, but all you'll get an understanding. So you might read something, but the key thing is get an understanding. So today I want to go in and with my sister and with her help and with some of y'all's questions, I want to we want to address something, and I want to, and we have to realize this: Epha, a it is a binary algorithm or a system of angles and numbers that connect us to the celestial realm, where whenever we need a question, we can go to that particular system and get answers. And one thing that I want to start out, if I may, my beloved goddess, is that what are the two main things we use on a daily basis? One of the things that we find out that's connected to Ifa is the time we live in and how things came to be. And as I time tell people, don't nothing come in this realm, in this dimension, without the approval of the celestial body or through the celestial realm. So I recommend them to get the book called Ephaism, the complete work of Orunmila. That way, if you understand where things come from or what was created out of, you have a better understanding and understanding of what you're dealing with. I all time say that 85% of the things we run with because we heard it, we regurgitate it, and then we create a thing, we come with a belief system, and then we get all emotional. You cannot let your emotions dictate your comprehensive understanding of things. That causes you to lose connection with it. So the first thing I want to address is our binary system that was adopted and been used now to run the modern day computers. That's right. It's E5. And as you were playing earlier once on one other show about this, it's called African fractal. Well, African fractal, when they go into the numbers and the geometry and geomancy and breaking all the numbers down, that came from E5. And in the book it says, am I talking too fast, beloved?
No, you're fine.
Okay. In the book Ephaism by O.C. Osamari Eby, it says that Epha is the oldest principle known to mankind. So if it's the oldest, then why we're stopping looking around Egypt when we got to go further back? The other day we was, uh, my thing is timeline, chronology, etymology, linguistics, and agriculture. These things will give you a better fix on what time, what region, what's going. I like those, but yeah, those books here. These are the books you use, but there's a thing called after God called Dibia. That you find that among the Igbo culture. What I'm saying is this: that if that the system of Ifa algorithms are teaching, it's not just with the Yorubas or the Igbos or the Cameroons or this or Benin the homie. It is the dressing that connects. It is the dressing in this great salad that connects everybody's culture through our ancestral recognitions and into the celestial realm. Now I want you to understand that scenario. Sometimes we get caught in a thing called a stew. In a stew, something loses its identity. I mean, whatever's strong would be the meat, potatoes, or the celery, whatever. But in a salad, everything maintains its identity, but the only common denominator is whatever dressing you use to connect it. So Ifa is that dressing that connects all cultures to the celestial realm, and you can't get there without it. So based on that, even the computer, those that study AI, computer technology, it's based on ones and zero. is based on a binary algorithm that came from Epha. I want that to simmer just a little bit. Any questions so far? Even right now, even though we got these computers in front of us, we're still dealing with what? Epha. Because the main system that runs it was designed from that. And we've got, I hate to use this word, we got white scholars and other scholars who have the money to go in and do the research. And they had to go to Alkebulan, known as Africa, to find out where this stuff come from. We are the originators of the science. As for Godfrey Higgins said, we taught the world the science, the language, the behavior. And and that's the thing that people have a hard time with. You got anything you want to show there? I see a picture come up. I'm on my phone. I can't see a lot of things because let me see if I can enlarge this.
Yeah.
So I tracked down one of the folks who makes these things, this guy in Mali, just outside of Bamako. And I asked him, how come you're making fractal fences? Because nobody else is. And his answer was very interesting. He said, well, if I lived in the jungle, I would only use the long rows of straw because they're very quick and they're very cheap. Doesn't take much time, doesn't take much straw. He said, but wind and dust goes through pretty easily. Now, the tight rows up at the very top, they really hold out the wind and dust, but it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of straw because they're really, really tight. Now, he said, we know from experience that the farther up from the ground you go, the stronger the wind blows, right? It's just like a cost-benefit analysis. And I measured out the lengths of straw, put it on a log-log plot, got the scaling exponent, and it almost exactly matches the scaling exponent for the relationship between wind speed and height in the wind engineering handbook. So these guys are right on target for a practical use of scaling technology. The most complex example of an algorithmic approach to fractals that I found was actually not in geometry. It was in a symbolic code. And this was Bamana sand divination. And the same divination system is found all over Africa. You can find on the East Coast as well as the West Coast. And often the symbols are very well preserved. So each of these symbols has 4 bits. It's a 4-bit binary word. You draw these lines in the sand randomly. And then you count off. And if it's an odd number, you put down 1 stroke. And if it's an even number, you put down 2 stroke. And they did this very rapidly. And I couldn't understand where they were getting, they only did the randomness 4 times. I couldn't understand where they were getting the other 12 symbols. And they wouldn't tell me. They said, no, I can't tell you about this. I said, well, look, I'll pay you. You can be my teacher and I'll come each day and pay you. I said, it's not a matter of money. This is a religious matter. And finally, out of desperation, I said, well, let me explain George Cantor in 1877. And I started explaining, why.
Yes.
Go back to where he said the ones and the twos. He says in the system, they pick up 1 with equal it out. Anybody know when you pound the E king, you slide it back and let him say that again, and we'll show when you pound the E kings, that's the cola nuts. Just slide it back just a little way. He's talking about how they counted it.
Okay.
Right in there. Okay. Right here.
I only did the randomness 4 times.
So he basically, what happened is that he was going to get it. For those that are trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening is that. So we're discussing the connection of Epha, which is the African spirituality, African religion and way of life, African that comes from the Yoruba people. It is called Epha. It is the Odu Epha. We're discussing how a lot of these ancient methods have a connection to modern technology, and it is where they get a lot of the origins of modern technology come from. Okay.
Right.
So go ahead.
Now, so if you listen to what he's saying, anybody familiar with Epha, they call it pounding the Eking. Listen to what he says about how you count it. Now, go back, he's gonna say if you got a handful of nuts, 16 nuts, and you pounding them, okay, and you catch them, whatever left in your hand, you mark. If it's a 1, you mark down 2. If it's 2, you mark down 2. And you add that and you put that into a pattern, and that pattern gives you an Odu. That Odu gives you the information that you need, leads you to the information to answer your question, what you're going after. So he's telling you that, and it's the same thing in a algorithm generated binary system. When you ask the computer something or type in a question, it goes through a process of numbers Then it comes up with a geometric figure, and from that it prints you out the answer to your problem. And he's saying it came from Epha. So we even using it right now. Even with all the technologies runs off of African fractal or the binary or the algorithm of our ancient ancestors, which is much older than any system in the world today. I have done my research. I've gone back over 300 million years ago. And all the time I've got a video out there that says 2.5 billion years of Epha history. Now that sounds a little far-fetched, but remember, they're finding out now that many of the so-called dates and common dates, that they are wrong. That they're wrong, and they missed it because we were counting on the oppressor and his money to tell us our story, and he's going to write it in a biased thing, because we're finding out things from nature, from fossils and everything else, that we as people of color or origin, we are the oldest existing being on the planet. So quite naturally, a lot of things we brought. That's why Higgins got frustrated, Sister Monica, when he said the further he went back in history, the darker it got. And he said after his research, he said to think to a race of people who is now the object of our contempt. To them do we owe our art, science, and a very use of speech. So without us, there is no civilization. And everything we deal with in our ancient world, our technology, whatever, it comes to make the world a better place. There's a book written by Ivan Van Serton, Science, Ancient, and Modern Time. He said it was our ancestor that created the first biofuel that ran our machinery. In other words, this biofuel that we got now that they got, we use vegetable gases hundreds of thousands of years ago to power our ships. Now that sounds crazy. Okay?
Right. So ancient African people use vegetable oil to
vegetables to take the gas off of that, and they process it to power our ships. He said, man, wasn't no damn ships back then. I beg to differ. In the book of Judges, I think it's Judges in the Bible, 1 and 19. If you can go there. In the book of Judges 1 and 19 in the Bible. Now this is gonna get you. Is my brother say, is everybody all right? I want to double check and make sure my information is right. So I'm going to the Bible. And I want to read this because in the Bible, there's a lot of science in there. And I think it's in Judges, the book of Judges, chapter.
For those that don't know, he used to be before he was a Babalawo, he was a pastor. So he's not only speaking.
I am an ordained bishop, and I also have a doctorate degree in theology, and I was a member of the Churches of God in Christ, national and international, and I've got 48 years along with this, and I also brought along let's see numbers. I want to find, because in it talks about, it might be numbers. I've got so many scriptures in my head, and sometimes people don't use all this stuff.
Oh Lord. Well, let's not get into an argument in the chat room about Islam, okay? Because this is Epha.
No, we're not even. We're not even going there.
We're talking about technology and how ancient Africans had technology, and the same technology is what drives our current technology. It drives our computation system. That all those things are based on ancient African technology. Let's just, while he looks that up, I'm gonna just go ahead and play this.
And I couldn't understand.
Do that.
We only did the randomness 4 times. I couldn't understand where they were getting the other 12 symbols. And they wouldn't tell me. They said, no, I can't tell you about this. I said, well, look, I'll pay you. You can be my teacher, and I'll come each day and pay you. I said, it's not a matter of money. This is a religious matter.
Now, this guy goes into an African village. He's getting a divination, right? And the people that are there, he's noticing as he's sitting down and getting this divination done, is this basically what would be considered to most people as a bunch of pseudoscience and magic and demonic stuff. He realizes that it's all based on, if there's an algorithm to it, it's an actual that's similar to computers and how computers work. That's what he realizes as he's watching the actual person do this. And he says, well, can you tell me how to do this? And he's like, no, I can't tell you how to do this. Then he says, well, look, I'll pay you to tell me how to do it. He says, no, I can't. It's not for sale. And so basically he finally had to get initiated to learn it. But he's basically, he has some religious mumbo jumbo. He's just being very, for lack of words, nonchalant about the fact that he's learning ancient mystery system of divination, and he just wants to know about the math behind it. So he's very matter of fact and like just blowing off, like, just I don't know what the word is for it, just like whatever. Just tell me what the goddamn on math is. He don't care about the whole system that people's whole societies are based on. And
then he's
go ahead.
So he had to go through a process, but he showed the seriousness, and they made him go through a form of initiation. They had to lay down with the nuts and this, and they finally gave him the one hand. They showed him the one hand to be found, not both. We call it the one hand. And if you look at the drawing that he put up, it's going to be to the far right. And anybody know anything about the old dudes, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. And I think that's O'Shea or Osei. You pull it up. And if you look in anybody understand about the 16 major odus, the 240 combinations, you're going to find out that this has a whole philosophy, sociology. It tells you things you need to know. It looks both past, present, and future, just in that number. Every society that deals with spirituality, I don't mean just every religion, because more religion is based on traditions and customs. But to really raise to your next celestial level, you have to have a way to communicate. I found what I'm looking for. It's in Judges chapter 1, verse 19. Now, everybody didn't, man, the Lord God can't fail. But in Judges chapter 1, and it says this, verse 19, and the Lord was with Judah and drove out the inhabitants of the mountain. The Lord was, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had chariots made of iron. So what in the hell pulled these chariots made of iron? How are they powered?
Right.
I mean, come on, you're talking about made of iron.
So that means horses pull that. That's not horses right there. That's not horses.
No. And today we call them modern day tanks. What were they using to power this thing where it could be horseless to move across the desert? Just to the point whereby even the Lord could not defeat them. I'm gonna read that again. He says, and the Lord was with Judah and drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley. How come? Because they had chariots made of iron. Damn. But he can do all things, right? So how can this stop the Lord?
How did they even make it? Like, what did they use to smelt the iron?
They had a compressor. They had a compressing thing, and we got one here. A young man built one. It's called a digester. It would take and process the fruit and get the methane out of it. From the methane, it's like using butane. And they would take it and they would power it. You got schools right now that's taking and transforming water into energy to move vehicles. You know, this is nothing new. Remember, it's called Anthony by Ivan Sermon. It's called the Anthony in Modern Time. He talks about us back in the day, even having helicopters. When in some books he said, and the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the water. It didn't say come from, hovered That means was standing above it. Whoa.
Well, so he would he have a jetpack on or something like that, like hovering over the water?
Well, we talking about this particular thing that was up there just hovering over the water. Yeah, we got a jetpack, you know. So it's a lot of technology in here that if you understand what it means and break it down, it goes way beyond modern technology and time. Some said, well, it was the Anunnakis. Okay, Anunnaki, but they had a technology that was able to do this, and it's in the book. But it's in
Whoever
the book.
it was, they was flying. They had helicopters.
They was actually, and the thing flew at least 200 feet above ground.
Wow.
Ain't they trying to build cars and stuff doing that now? And if we say
Right,
there's
they are.
nothing new under the sun, all this came out of the ancient people that we call Africans, Alkebulan, right? And they had this technology. And now more and more of the day we was talking about this man. His name is Albert Perry, where they found this Y chromosome, 340,000 year old, older than any. If there's a Y chromosome, there's got to be an X. Or the Y before that Y. It didn't just throw it out there. So what in the world's going on?
You know, on the Egyptian, the actual hieroglyphs, they showed stuff like hoovering and kind of like UFO like thing.
And I'm
And
trying to
also
find a book.
In India, they have a picture of some of the things they talk about in the Bhagavad Gita. Sounds like some like crazy like technology that they had back in the day.
Van Sermon wrote about it, and I studied under him. I had the book. I don't know what place it at. It's among these 1,500 books I've got back at. But anyway, we studied this, and we'd asked what he said. It was a thing called called a digester. It would literally take vegetables, fruit, and when it's fermented, it would process it and get the gas, and that gas was like butane. I can tell you this, and I can verify this. Right where I live in Tallulah, 3-4 years ago, myself and a young brother who was sharp in technology, he built a digester. We built a digester. This boy took dog poop and grass and made butane. Dog poop, grass you cut, put in this thing, processed it, and we could actually light it like you do butane. It's called methane. That's why if you ain't careful, if you break winds, might have got a match, you're gonna get a blaze from your booty. It's gonna blaze out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? The amount of gas that comes off of when the body dies, do you know how the body expands? Like the actual, because of the gases that are inside the body, like it'll
Right.
expand.
So they learn how to use things. So once again, and not only that, so this is just one thing. This thing now runs our whole system of the world today, and it's called what? Computers or AI. We've been had AI. It's been had AI.
So wait, do you think that whole thing of a simulation that really that we try to that the white man kind of tried to recreate God, it keeps trying to become? So I think somewhere that the white man tries to become like God, and it creates things to become more God-like.
That's in Epha. That's in the book. Epha in the complete work of Arimula under the white man. Because if we've got white is not a color. It is a mindset or energy that permeates in this particular thing, and it's always in competition against the creator.
And then it's going to create something that's going to be able to outdo its own self.
But it won't succeed because every time it do, issue go in and do a trick job on it. He's always missing a key component.
So just right when they think they're going to become like God, there's another force that comes in and throws a monkey wrench into it. So do you think that civilization has reset over several times before?
Yes,
Like,
if you look it up, how many resets have we had? How is it every 26,000 years the Earth goes through a reset? How many times the moon goes? Remember, it's not based on the sun; it's based on the moon. Psalms 104 verse 19. And it says what? That the moon governs the season. The sun knows its setting. We put a lot of things on sun worship when it ain't the sun, it's the moon. And that's why when Alexander then went into Egypt, the Egyptians at one time had a 13-month calendar. I'll get to that in a minute. And they find out then, well, they didn't want to recognize the feminine energy. A lot of folks, they want to demonize it, make her become the slave or the possession of the king. But without a queen, there is no king. What's the first throne you sat on? Your mama's lap. And in Epha, it teaches that out of darkness came light. And we'll get to that a little bit later on. I was talking to a young man today. He said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. We teach one thing, but we practice another. Even in our divination system, even understanding the seniority or the order of them, you tell me one thing, but you teach it ass backwards. And if I'm not sharp enough to catch it, then I miss the key component, how to make it work to full potential. That's why we're having a hard time. That's why Baba Karate says that if I could win a broken world, we're not using the science that was given us to bring the world back together. We still chasing whoop cookies. We still chasing shadows. We chasing different everything. What we should be doing is perfecting our arts and science. You did a show on that about people worshiping science. It need no worshiping. It's already there. It's already there.
Just you don't
You
need
can't operate without it. I tell folks, don't believe nothing I'm saying. Do the research. Use some common sense. Get your emotions out of it. And quit being pigeonholed into this thing about, I have faith to believe. No, you don't. You don't believe that. Because even nature tell you it don't work that way. I asked the question, well, I'll say that for another show.
wait, what are we gonna say? What you gonna say? Now I gotta know what it is. You can't start to listen to the what were you gonna say?
I want my comment.
I think
that
they
my head. Like,
what were you about to say? No, you can't. You know, Bob. Come on now.
You know, I'm going to. And the odd thing about it, my beloved God, is that everything in far has a part of representation in the body. In the body. They use our technology and our science when they study the autonomy of the Bible and the biology of the Bible. They use it for.
Yeah, every technological thing or structure has some kind of similarity to a bodily function, especially with the technology. Like a car is simulating the digestive system.
Yeah, you know, and we sit around, we play. Without it, the world don't exist. And the world is what we create, in which is really a hologram. You know, people don't know, I know what you think it is. It's an illusion, you know. And I've heard 607, they making fun, but the bar is operating on a 660 frequency, and a lot of folks don't know it.
You saying the world is?
No, I said that young man.
Oh,
no, yeah, but the world should be working on 993 megahertz. That's why when what's his name, the actor, was it Howard? What's his name?
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. You see what he came back with?
Yeah.
Now this boy Degassi, he mad because he blew his stuff away. They could not answer the boy's question. You got young.
Do you think he would if he went to IFA and studied IFA, he would be, or does he already study IFA?
He studied some forms of it, and and along that. You'd be surprised how many Hollywood actors and things have gotten involved in this science. They don't talk much about it. They throw it out like it's a joke or this, but they know what they operate. That's like a lot of people don't know that Minister Farrakhan was initiated and to Obata law.
So he practiced IFA. So he's a
Yeah.
priest. Now he's a priest in IFA. If he got initiated.
Well, when he came to the final one, they presented him with the staff, the stuff, and a white horse, and his white. He initiated to Obata law, and that was 8 years ago.
Wow. So Farrakhan is actually initiated in IFA. Wow.
Yeah, and now I don't believe. I'm not asking you to believe it. Look at when they gave him the white horse and all the initiation and the things he came back with, and how he's recognized.
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Yep, I've seen him. He's a Babalao, I think.
Yeah. Anna, what was his name? Van Zandt, Michael B. Jordan, and the list goes on.
But they try to demonize it. You should see all.
Well, because you did him that big money out there, and et cetera, right? But behind closed doors, because most times this is practiced where behind closed doors. It's practiced behind the curtain.
Did he actually practice his voodoo? He does not practice IFA. But even though voodoo is a form of IFA,
they got to communicate. They don't just they got to throw out and come with some kind of geometry or a system that whereby he's able to use the tools to get the answer. That's why it's practiced in Islam, Sanskrit. It's practiced in Judaism. It's called Yuan theorem. It's practiced among the Chinese called I Ching. All that's how we fall. Nothing doing with is what they say. Pythagoras says, without geometry, the world don't exist. Where do you think that stuff come from?
IFA.
IFA.
So
man, y'all giving me far too much credit. Then show me anything older or better than they don't have it in it. Name me one thing that they don't have it in it. Even when you go look at a sports event, the referee who represents the Babalao, he tosses a coin in the air to decide who's going to receive the ball from the other team.
Listen, what color does the referee wear?
Black and white. And that's issue $1.
People don't even realize that IFA is in so many things, and they don't even realize it.
I'm telling you. I'm going like, whoa, wait a minute, player.
And even when you look at the Masonic thing, black and white, that's expansion and contraction, darkness and light.
There's a book called
those floors, those black and white checker floors they always show in the Masonic hall.
Right, but check this out. There's a book called The Occult Geometry and Hermetic Science. I dare you to get it. I dare you to get it and read it. Everything you wear, color, shape, vibration, frequency, number, music, it's all tied into IFA.
He said, how about Moorish science? Yes.
Which is older, IFA or Moorish science? Which is the oldest?
IFA.
Where do you think Moorish got these stuff from? Remember, you got to go the one that's oldest. Can they give me a date and a timeline when the Moorish science became known in society? And who brought it?
Noble Drew Ali in the 60s.
Okay, and where did Noble Drew Ali get his information from?
The Muslim. I don't know where did.
No, you do what you call you do a background. You do what you call a research. Here's a man that's teaching you something. Where did he first get introduced to it or got initiated into it, and who taught him? He down to it didn't make it up.
Who taught Noble Drew Ali? I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, look it up.
Well, okay. Noble Drew Ali's teachings were influenced by a mix of sources, including Eastern philosophy and the high priest who trained him in mysticism and
Bam.
provided him with a lost section of the Quran. So
remember, the Quran come out of the Bible. The Quran came out of the Bible.
But there were some parts that, so mysticism involves the belief in direct experience and connection with the divine or transcendent, often described as a union or oneness with the ultimate reality.
Ain't that Epha?
Yeah.
Shit. Don't play with me. I tell folks, I don't deal with kindergarten cosmology. Tell me when it started, who started it, who's the first one, and where did the concept come from?
Did Jesus study Epha? Now there's a story
Yes,
about
yes. Because when he talked about casting lots for his robe, where you think you and them came from? Look in the Old Testament. Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. Hold on a minute. Somebody ought to say something good. Googly moogly. Let me go here. Let me go here. And I got the Bible in front from all my Bible believers and thumpers out there. So you don't understand. And remember, the Bible is not in chronological order. It's not. You gotta check it. Now here's the story that I always like to use, and you know where I'm going, sister. I think it's in where is it at here?
So the one thing I like about how Baba teaches is he'll cross-reference it with the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be like, oh, well, you know, that's not a part. Well, no, it's in the Bible. So, but if you miss it, if you ain't paying attention, you'll miss it. You know?
Yeah. In 1 Samuel chapter 30, David defeats the Amalekites. In verse 6, it says, and David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him because the souls of the people were grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord, his God. And David said to Abiathar, priest, Amalek's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And brought him the ephod. And David inquired of the Lord, said, shall I pursue after the troops, or shall I overtake them? And he got the answer. If that's not divination, I kiss your butt downtown at high noon.
So that's divination. So David himself divine to
Yeah.
find the answer.
Yeah, the priest didn't do it. He did it, and he was not initiated into the priesthood, but he was the king. Oh, we got some more go into. So don't go out there all have cock on your emotions. Do the 3 hours. Read, research, and review. Ask where this stuff come from. It didn't pop up overnight. And that's the problem we have. We're so busy trying to find an identity and then get the approval of the enemy. And the book tells you in Proverbs 3:31, but not your person, choose none of his ways.
If he's not your person, choose not his ways.
Yeah, it says, but not your oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Proverbs 3:31.
Envy not your oppressor and choose not his
none
ways.
of his ways.
Hey, Professor X. Yeah.
But what we do?
Envious of the technology because we're the originators of that anyway.
Right. So why are you chasing a shadow when you the image that the shadow come from? That's what's wrong with us. Not only that, why can't the black man get? Because if you look up how many countries in Africa? How many countries?
Let's see.
Ask the question. We're the most diverse group of people in the world. How many countries is in the continent of Africa?
54.
How many different languages?
3,000.
Now, how are we gonna be all speaking the same damn thing? We got that much diversity. But the key there is what? Getting into a system that we all can agree on, and that is what? Epha, Alpha. The recognition of this science because every one of them recognize this particular science as a way to communicate with your ancestors or the deity that you present, whether you want to call them angels or whatever, but you communicate to them through the system of Ifa, Afa, Afa,
You
all the
know,
same.
and you know, into the thing. This is where we got caught up in. In the Bible, it says to pray, right? So you just
Yeah,
pray
but
and praying and praying and Lord, please help me and whatever. But there's a better way to do this where you actually get an answer as to what you need to do to get the help. So so
but
sometimes prayer placebo effect will happen where the
the
prayer will be
Bible tell you, I'm sorry, the Bible tells you to remember the oracles. Remember the oracles. That's in the book of Hebrews. What is oracles? It's the old dudes. What does oracles mean? What does prime mean? That's the form of that in the book of Ruth. She
in
divined.
mythology and religion. An oracle is a person or place believed to receive divine messages, predictions, or wisdom from God or spirit. They are often seen as intermediaries before the divine and human realms, offering guidance on important matters.
Is that the priesthood?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that a lot of like our government people go to oracles to find out what laws they should pass and all type of stuff like that.
There's always a divine intervention. What's her name? When Reagan was in office, and what's her name? His wife, what's her name? Miss
Man,
Ford. Who was her advisor? That was an occultist. Jane Dixon. She didn't move without Jane Dixon. And they would tell Reagan what to do after they done readings. But check me out. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. She was a psychic for the president.
and she was astrology, right? Joan Quigley,
Right.
an astrologer for advice on her husband's schedule after an attempt assassination. She consulted with Joan Quigley. So even like you have the people that are even high up in like government positions going and talking to like astrologists and stuff like that. People don't even realize how important astrology is. They'll say it's pseudoscience. Oh, I don't believe in that. But you got like government officials that are going to astrologers to figure out what they should do.
Let me ask you this. There's a movie called Hidden Figures. Have you ever saw it?
Yes.
Did you not know they were using the census system of E4 in that particular movie?
No.
Okay. I told her, "Wow, you believe that shit?" She said, "What? Look at this." When it was time to determine the trajectory and understanding what windows open at a certain time, because only at a certain time can you escape this atmosphere, or the windows are closed on you, and you're stuck out there, or you're stuck in. Where do you think you find that at? It's in the E4 Bible.
Wow. There's an Odu for that
Yeah.
that tells you like when it's open to leave.
Everything out there that's in this dimension deals off of certain old dudes that governs when it came into existence, that governs its operation, that you can operate with. Now that may sound like a bunch of BS. I dare you to challenge it. Ask this question: how many portals is it around the earth? Talk to God, Google. Yeah. Ask him how many portals is it around the earth?
It's not.
They might have been guided so, but back in the day, you could pull it up.
Oh, 50.
How many?
50.
At a certain time, there's an alignment that portal open up to bring in data or bring in certain other things. So we tell me it's 50 openings out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that you think that's why they can't get back to the moon? Because that portal is closed?
The portal is closed. We're looking at a lot of stuff now that is what they call an artificial substitute. I don't want to get them out because I'm sorry to deviate, but I'm trying to show them if you don't understand where you are in this particular dimension, then how you gonna go back in and out of it? That was a movie I used to call years ago called Stargate. It talked about these portals. That's why I learned about it. These guys will go, and there's places in Africa or in Cuba, when you go in, you don't come back out. There are certain roads, if you walk into them or whatever, your butt don't come back out. There are certain places out there in the ocean they call like the Bermuda Triangle. All this stuff. You say that's fantasy. Okay, well take your book out, take your butt out there then. You know, and there are other things. You may have some questions out there, but I'm saying, so the next thing is we have to look at, matter of fact, and I love this, and you haven't said many times, the very thing we messed up now because we're on the wrong time frequency. We're on the wrong calendar. You're following the wrong sign. And you out there trying to check one thing when that's not you. They're like trying to put a round thing into a square hole. And you wonder why your life is jacked up. You know, did you still have your calendar?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And they talked about when the earth is out of balance, all the calamity and confusion going on. Do you know that this is the year of Shango, Oya, and Ishu? That's who's running this year. Shango, Oya, and Ishu is running this year. This year came in during equinox with Ogun. When Ogun opened up the way, that's who came through to go to work. Well, we got all these fires and floods and all this stuff because the earth is going through a metamorphosis. Because it's time for a purging, because we're so far out of balance that she's about to go into a wobble.
That the earth itself is about to start just wobbling like a wobble?
It's going into a wobble. Because the moon's about to go into one. In the year 2030, NASA say the moon's going to go into a wobble, a major wobble, going to have mass flooding. Type in year 2030, what does NASA say going to happen on the moon, with the moon? Epha already told us this. What did NASA going to happen in the year 2030 with the moon?
They said in the mid 2030s, a natural wobble in the moon's orbit combined with rising sea levels due to climate change will lead to increased high tide flood among U.S. coastal regions. Because the moon's wobble influence its gravitational pull on Earth's oceans, causing cycles of amplified and suppressed tides.
Wow. I love you, my sister. Did he say the sun?
No, it said the moon.
Okay.
And that is in the Odu that there will be.
I did this thing last year around I think about we're still in the middle of last year. I did this and I did the reading on it, and it fell under this. I got to find the Odu. I don't want to lie. Fell the Odu. I went back and did the research on it, and it said it's going to be I tell you what I found it out in the book in the thesis of Shem. in the book called the Pseudepigrapha. That's where I found it at. And it told you about when the earth go through certain stages in this book, what take place.
Someone asked, what is Odu? What is the Odu?
I was trying. I gotta look back and look it up. Like, and I'm talking. I didn't bring all my stuff, and I gotta go in there and dig it all out.
Oh, what is the Odu? Like, are you what? Do you know what you're asking? What the Odu? What does Odu mean? Or
That
what
was
is
the first
the
one.
Odu of the wobble?
The wobble. The earth tell me what because even the earth came when it came into existence, it came into the world under a particular Odu. Everything that come into this dimension, as my boy, as my boy 607 would say, the firmament above and all this, when it came out of the mystical primordial waters into manifestation, it came in at a time and period that gives its birth, you know, and from that birth it tells you what Odu.
Right. So there's a certain time when each specific thing gets birth. Let it be.
Right, right.
Breath has an Odu.
Yeah.
Eyesight has an Odu.
Right.
Skin has no. Everything has an Odu. Everything that exists on this earth is connected to an actual Odu. And an Odu is a scripture or a story or a word.
Or a process of direction or atah, which means it's a live pattern of what it does. I asked this of the day. The hypothalamus gland that sits behind the pineal. What Odu controls that particular important gland or there? What Orisha controls that? You type in hypothalamus and you break it down, then tell me what. Now this is in the body. Now we all talking about when they study things, they use medical terms and the biological terms. When you break it all down, it goes back to Epha. Man, this nigga go crazy talking about Epha. This, I dare you to find anything that's more accurate, that's more profound, that brings you to existence of things. And if you got the book, you can go through what you call the not the appendix, what you call it, when you go through all your chapters, in the front of the book, what they call that, table of contents, and see how many things that it gives you and where to find it at. It also gives you the passive key of a proverb that goes along with it, that can give you some kind of direction, and from that you can build your answer or your summary. Like I was telling
you. Oh, it's Erosoon.
What is it called?
Erosoon.
Controls the pineal gland.
It's dedicated to the hormones, which is the hypothalamus is the.
Okay. How many folks know that? And what is the control system? What does the hypothalamus control?
Blood vessels and nerves.
Well, that's good. But especially controls behavior, thoughts, the hormones.
Right.
Right.
Erosoon is for like, it's actually the thing of menstruation. That's the Erosoon, menstruation.
That's Erosoon, but the hypothalamus gland sits behind the pipe, below the pineal, like a little acorn. It controls a lot of things that goes on in the body. A whole list of things.
Let me see. I'm trying to find out which Odu connects to the pineal gland. You know what? It's kind of hard to find.
It takes a little work, and it takes time.
You know, it's not. You know, it's not. People don't know that stuff. It's because it's not it's a closed system. It's hard to find stuff using Google for it.
Yeah, right. So, but I tell people all the time, these questions you can ask Epha, get the answer, and deal with a person's most inner mental problem. Because most time it's coming out of there. Why we have a lot of mental illness? Because the pineal gland, because of this imitation food, has been calcified. And because it's calcified, you're not getting a true exchange of information in order for the body to produce, do what it needs to. So now you're getting a mixture of things.
So it says here, in essence, while the pineal gland is the physical organ, the Odu and Ifa are a symbolic representation of the forces and principles that shape the universe, including those related to spiritual awareness and intuition. The Ifa system can be seen as a framework for understanding those forces and how they interact with individuals.
Can you get anything find that's any tougher than that? Even the Torah don't address that. Even the Quran don't address that. The Bhagavad Gita, none of that. And even though the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible out there, it don't address that. No attack, just facts. If I'm wrong, y'all prove me wrong, I will apologize. But show me where it's written that in it. When I came to Epha, my world made a whole 360. Everything about if all my questions I had in religion was answered. I said, well, I'll be John Brown. Now, if somebody out there feels that I'm wrong, please come on and straighten the old Bible out. I'm just 79 years old. I'm half crazy. Come on and straighten me out. Come on and challenge the information. If we want to save the world, then we gotta have a dialogue. We gotta have a conversation, and we gotta challenge it. We gotta debate because time is running out.
So in Ifa, is there a such thing as an apocalypse, or is it more or less like a renewing? Everything
It's
just
a renewing. Everything is a renewing. It ain't going nowhere. It is what's called a metamorphosis or regenerating or redeveloping, and it keeps rolling.
So that means that it's not far-fetched to say that there was probably a time where people were just as advanced in technology, society were just as advanced as we are, and then it got reset and people started all over again. It goes up and then it resets in this. So they call these things the Great Reset,
yeah.
But there's been several great resets.
Many of them. Why you think they went in there and the guy's name was Christopher Clavius, who was working with what name? Gregory the 13th, the Gregorian calendar. Why you think they changed from the Julius Caesar calendar? I've got a video out there about talking about the 13 original constellations that govern this dimension. I give you the whole breakdown.
They're saying that we're right back to 9 planets now. They don't know how many planets we got in our solar system.
No, they don't, because you say 9 planets because they claim they got rid of Pluto or whatever brought it back. No, they have not. They have not. They have not explored all of them. You go on, do the research. Do the research. 9 planets. Come on, please. Because the number 9, well, okay, you can play with that if you want to. What's the 9th Odu? What is the 9th Odu?
See.
While you being processed and generated, your body looks like a number 9. When you're born, you look like a number 6.
Ogunda.
Ogunda.
That's Ogun. That's yeah.
Opening up the way, coming through the passage.
Right. Ogun is like considered the way the person that opens the way, right?
Right. That's what he does. If you can understand the science and the geometry of a pop, I don't mean the traditions and customs of a particular religion, a group of people, but it's as a science itself, detached from whether you a Benny or whatever. If you stick with the science, you can make your life 100% better. It removes the do's and the don'ts and the hang-ups and the whatever and what you can and cannot do. That's why it tells you in the 16 truths, and you should have no fear. But if I'm scared to do something, I got fear.
Mm.
If all this is in me, why am I afraid to step out and use it?
And I think it's also by design that they want you to be afraid to use these things.
Because that makes you become what you call an indigent servant. You a pawn in the game. And you want to be free. You go there to get free of religion, but you come bound in another religion.
If we get rid of the religiosity of Epha and focus just purely on the science of it.
Thank you. And that's what we need to do, because this is why people don't want, because when you come to the religiosity, they got all kind of price tags on it, which drives you away from, because in these times you might not can afford to. But what does Epha say about money? It's in the old, that's an old do go along with money in Epha, because money is a spirit. It ain't the particular items or tools that you exchange. It is the spirit that goes along with it. You know why a gambler can't keep money when he's gambling?
Why?
He don't show no respect for it. He take it up and he win. He ball it up, put it in his pocket, but he balls it up. That's disrespect. Now you put a negative image on it. Hell, you ain't finna keep it. Take that money out, spread it out there, and talk to that money. It's a face on it. It's an energy involved in it. Fold it up correct.
Right. So you have to respect it when you
and every now and then put your little patchouli oil on it so it'll keep growing. And tell it to hurry back.
Oh, that's pseudoscience.
I don't care what you call it.
Folklore,
yeah, as long as you keep it in your pocket. As long as you keep coming, it's all you want. Pseudo or rudo, we don't care. Just keep bring some of your friends back with you.
You know, and you know when they talk about, like I said, when they talk about witchcraft and they say, oh well, you know, using all this herbs and burning all that sage is evil, it's witchcraft, it's this, that, the other. The Bible speaks against it. It's like, no, but they had burnt offerings. They had burnt things on altars and things like that in the Bible.
That's the only thing about in the Bible that puts you in a clique. The God of the Bible is a jealous God. He's jealous. Oldemar is not jealous. In the Bible, in Exodus, I think the 18th, it tells you, make no mention of another God, nor even come out your mouth, or you be punished. Come on, man.
Well, that proves that there's other gods that exist.
That's right.
If you don't want to hear about no other gods, then there must be
you're gonna take you out. There's a penalty, man. In the wilderness, 22,000 died for whispering the golden calf. What? Older than Mary, in her infinite wisdom, is not jealous.
I wanted to show a little bit of this video so we go into this.
Come on.
You can see. So this man, he goes and gets a $7 million thing from a whatever, what's it called?
What was that grant he got? He got a Fulbright.
The Fulbright.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Ronald. Before I go into this, Ronald asked about the demiurge.
Okay.
What do you want to know about the demiurge, Ronald?
About the what?
The demiurge.
Not familiar with it. I won't claim them.
Demiurge is like that whole thing about Sophia, and that there's like
yeah, Sophia and all that. That's another pantheon. That deals, you know, you're talking about what is that? Britain under Antarctica and all that thing. Yeah, but then you got to go back and see when the origin of Sophia. Some call it Shakanaya, you know, for many names. So yeah, we're talking about. I've heard different ones mention that, but like I told everybody, if it's not several million years old, I don't deal with kindergarten cosmology.
Well, I guess those are the Gnostic teachings, right?
It is Gnostic teaching. I got the book, Nas Hammond Library. It's over here on my desk. The other Bible. Those are Gnostic teachings. But my thing is this: but we're still saying the oldest philosophy is Epha. So I'm not going to deal. Why would I want to go deal with something that's a baby when I got the original origin of where it come from? That's not being arrogant. That's get on point. Why are you want to deal with a substitute when you got the original? And they may sound arrogant, and I understand. But based on my research and years of being in it, we've been through Sophia. We've been through all these different things. We've heard about the Anunnakis, the Nephilims, and Enoch, and all these things. And I was showing a guy the other day that most folks that classify and hangs on the Bible, you need to go talk to the white Ashkenazis, so-called Jews, because you can't write their name in the language, or talk to the Sephardic Jews and ask them about the Christian and where they got it from. They're going to say, well, they got it from the Gilgamesh text, from the Samaritan,
so
Mesopotamia.
Saying that the demiurge just means, if you look up the actual meaning, a being responsible for the creation of the universe.
And would that be among the Orishas? So it was no Baccarat in charge of making human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You know. See. But now here's a word you hear a lot of, even in the news. Draconian. I've been hearing that word a lot. The draconian. Draconian, damn. Draconian. And that's been in the news here so much from the last 5 months. Almost every news network, they dropped this word draconian. What?
Is that the thing, like a Nazi kind of like a severe laws, like extreme?
I also deal with an alien intelligence as well.
Oh, alien intelligence. Okay.
Yeah. It's so much out there, sister, that we could go back and deal with. And I'm trying to stay on point. So the fact that it is our science and technology that has the world where it is. It's going to take us to get it back to its originality, to get it back on track. Otherwise, it's doomed. It's doomed for a makeover. There you go.
So let's go.
And finally, out of desperation, I said, well, let me explain George Cantor in 1877. And
let me bring it back just in case some people didn't hear this part. So basically what he did was he went to Epha priest, and he found out that, man, this stuff is very similar to mathematical computations. When he was getting his reading, when he's getting his divination done, and he began to just ask the priest for more information. So let's go.
The West Coast, and often the symbols are very well preserved. So each of these symbols has 4 bits. It's a 4-bit binary word. You draw these lines in the sand randomly, and then you count off. And if it's an odd number, you put down 1 stroke, and if it's an even number, you put down 2 stroke. And they did this very rapidly, and I couldn't understand where they were getting. They only did the randomness 4 times. I couldn't understand where they were getting the other 12 symbols. And they wouldn't tell me. They said, no, I can't tell you about this. I said, well, look, I'll pay you. You can be my teacher, and I'll come each day and pay you. I said, it's not a matter of money. This is a religious matter. And finally, out of desperation, I said, well, let me explain George Cantor in 1877. And I started explaining, why I was there in Africa. And they got very excited when they saw the Cantor set. And one of them said, come here, I think I can help you out here. And so he took me through the initiation ritual for a Bamana priest. And of course, I was only interested in the math. So the whole time he kept shaking his head going, I didn't learn it this way. But I had to sleep with a kola nut next to my bed, buried in sand, and give 7 coins to 7 lepers, and so on. And finally,
So he must have got initiated into Babaluaye.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, he had to go to the lepers and give them money. That sounds like
he revealed the truth of the matter. And it turns out it's a pseudo-random number generator. They're using deterministic chaos. When you have a 4-bit symbol, you then put it together with another one sideways. So even plus odd gives you odd. Odd plus even gives you odd. Even plus even gives you even. Odd plus odd gives you even. So it's addition modulo 2, just like in the parity bit check on your computer. And then you take this symbol and you put it back in. So it's a self-generating diversity of symbols. They're truly using a kind of deterministic chaos in doing this. Now, because it's a binary code, you can actually implement this in hardware. What a fantastic teaching tool that should be in African engineering schools. And the most interesting thing I found out about it was historical. In the 12th century, Hugo of Santillana brought it from Islamic mystics into Spain. And there it entered into the alchemy community as geomancy, the divination through the earth. This is a geomantic chart drawn by for King Richard II in 1390. Leibniz, the German mathematician, talked about geomancy in his dissertation called De Combinatoria. And he said, well, instead of using 1 stroke and 2 strokes, let's use a 1 and a 0. And we can count by powers of 2, right? 1s and 0s, the binary code. George Boole took Leibniz's binary code and created Boolean algebra, and John von Neumann took Boolean algebra and created the digital computer. So all these little PDAs and laptops, every digital circuit in the world started in Africa. And I know Brian Eno says there's not enough African in computers, but I don't think there's enough African history in Brian Eno.
So as you can see right there, the guys say, hey, there needs to be more African computers. It's like, well, hell, if you know the history, the computers came from Africa. When you understand that the actual divination system was the actual influencer of the binary module that created what you know as modern computing.
So let me end with just a few words about applications that we've found for this. And you can go to our website. The applets are all free. They just run in the browser. Anybody in the world can use them. The National Science Foundation's Broadening Participation in Computing program recently awarded us a grant to make a programmable version of these design tools. So hopefully in 3 years, anybody will be able to go on the web and create their own simulations of their own artifacts. We focused in the US on African-American students as well as Native American and Latino. We found statistically significant improvement with children using this software in their mathematics class in comparison with a control group that did not have the software. So it's really very successful teaching children that they have a heritage that's about mathematics, that it's not just about singing and dancing. We've started a pilot program in Ghana. We got a small seed grant just to see if folks would be willing to work with us on this. We're very excited about the future possibilities for that. We've also been working in design. I didn't put his name up here. My colleague Kerry in Kenya has come up with this great idea for using fractal structure for postal address in villages that have fractal structures. Because if you try to impose a grid structure postal system on a fractal village, it doesn't quite fit. Bernard Tschumi at Columbia University has been interested in using this in a design for a Museum of African Art. David Hughes at Ohio State University has written a primer on Afrocentric architecture in which he's used some of these fractal structures. And finally, I just wanted to point out that this idea of self-organization, as we heard earlier, it's in the brain. It's in it's in Google search engine. Actually, the reason Google was such a success is because they were the first ones to take advantage of the self-organizing properties of the web. It's in ecological sustainability. It's in the developmental power of entrepreneurship, the ethical power of democracy. It's also in some bad things. Self-organization is why the AIDS virus is spreading so fast. And if you don't think that capitalism, which is self-organizing, can have destructive effects, you haven't opened your eyes enough. So we need to think about, as was spoken earlier, the traditional African methods for doing self-organization. These are robust algorithms. These are ways of doing self-organization, of doing entrepreneurship that are gentle, that are egalitarian.
So thoughts on that, Baba?
Uh-huh.
I say, what? Any thoughts on what you just heard?
It was buffering. It's buffering, and anyway, that's why. But he's going. He was even talking about how it operates within the mainframe of the computers. Well, it's everywhere. You know, me not saying it more. We prove enough that it's our technology and our science that's running the world. It's literally running the world, and they trying to tap into it more and more. You know, and that's
And the
why it's
more we know
important.
about ourselves,
now,
I believe, yeah, the more we know about ourselves, the more we start to have
learn to appreciate and embrace these things. You know, no matter what part of the continent or globe you come from, the common denominator is that particular science of IFA that connects every one of those 54 nations, all in those over 3,000 languages. It is the system that we use. But we've been so colonized and other eyes that we'll stay more divided and conquered. I wanted that to get out there. And this is why it's important to show you have now, because you're surprised how many things how many Pandora boxes you open up for saying things a different way. And they begin to appreciate, because everybody's trying to find spiritual elevation, but most of them wind up in indoctrination and be worse off than before. We've got to get rid of this this indoctrination that's got us in this false illusion of this matrix, and that's why we're in trouble. While coming on here saying, "Look, I'm not asking you to believe nothing I say. Don't, but at least you do the research. You owe it to yourself and your ancestors. And every home needs somebody that knows how to do basic divination to get rid of some of this mental illness." You brought it out a while ago. It's all within the body. It's in certain glands and tissues. How to communicate with it. Well, Epha teaches you this, you know. And I was telling Andrew today, I guess he's still at the baby, at his boy, whatever it is. Because we had a nice conversation. This guy went out and bought all kinds of stuff not to get ready. So it was because of your show that it got him the way he is. You know, things he didn't, and he said, "Oh, y'all see my library now." You know, I and money folks don't believe nothing I say. At least spend the money and get the book. Go get and look at it. Do the research.
Don't just be stuck on one doctrine and not ever look into anything else, because you will be missing out on so many things that can help your life. Divination is a very powerful tool, as you can see, is being used. If you are searching into a search engine, you're doing divination. If you're using ChatGPT, you're doing a form of divination. But then they want to demonize the original. They want to demonize these ancient practices, but then don't even realize that the current government structure and the current systematic structure is making you use it regardless.
This is funny. I was watching a show the other day, and they was talking about the Ashkenazi Jews practicing Epha, and what they was doing Rosh Hashanah. They go out and they get a chicken, and they cleanse the people, and they kill it and throw it to the crossroads. Did you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, look it up. It's doing Rosh Hashanah. It's called a cleansing. That's an Epha. They take and they cleanse you up with this chicken. They kill it and carry it to the crossroads. Who governs the crossroads?
That's you.
It's you. Why are they doing that? But these are the astronauts. You can type it in. Why do they use a chicken cleanse? Just type it in just pacify the old man. Why do the Jewish people use a chicken to cleanse the people with and can kill it? Rosh Hashanah do it every
it's
year.
called Kapparat. It's a tradition observed by some Orthodox Jews community in the eve of Yom Kippur. The ritual is believed to be
Yom Kippur, that's right.
It's a way of symbolically transferring sins from a person to the chicken, with the hope that the chicken sacrifice will atone for those sins. But you know, a Christian would say that,
I wonder how many
Christians say
like,
that Jesus atoned for sins, so you got to do that no more, right? So,
but you got the Hebrew Israelites that say they're the original. Why ain't they doing it? I'm talking about my Hebrew Israelite group. Do y'all do what is it? What was it? Yom Kippur? What is it? You keep the feast days, you claim. Do you go out and get the chicken, cleanse with it, and kill it, and carry it to the crossroads?
Kapparat involves swinging a live chicken overhead 3 times. Kapparat involves swinging a live chicken overhead 3 times while reciting specific prayers and then slaughtering the chicken to atone for their sins.
My phone got hot. I was just trying to do it. Yeah. Just give me
What do you say? 14 billion videos on YouTube and 0 videos got healing an amputee. Interesting. Yeah, they do that. That's in the Jewish faith, Yom Kippur. That's the atonement for sins.
Yeah.
We're about to wrap this.
It's a lot going on.
I just put the StreamYard link down. If anybody wants to come up and ask a question, they can. Baba's devices started to like act up on him, so we're about to be wrapping this up pretty soon. I hope that you guys enjoyed the information that we gave today. If you have any questions or if you want to talk and get more details or information, please hit up Baba Yashabaya because he will answer his phone and he will talk to you. Okay, and I think I put his number up there. His number is 318-341-2160. So he does not only just talk online, but he'll actually speak directly to you, to the people, and answer any questions that you have. Again, his name is Baba Yashabaya. His phone number is 318-341-2160. He's been having some issues with his device, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up today's show. We do this every Sunday, y'all. Same time, same bat channel, 6 p.m. Central every Sunday. We go over the principles of Epha. We discuss different topics and subjects. If you have any questions or you want to come up at any point, you can. We like to ask any questions at the end. Again, be sure to contact Baba Yashabaya with any of your questions. Thank you so much for attending tonight. Peace.
I am blessed to make money, money making money, money making money, money making money, money making money, manifest making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. I ain't stressed, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. Gratitude is my attitude. I'm making money moves. Jewelry in the safe, piggy bank on